And away we go. We're back for another episode. Here we are, Brody Broshears. How you doing?
Good. It's Friday. I'm ready to go. I've had my banana, my cheese stick, my V8. I mean, I'm amped and ready.
I know. Right before we record every time, I try to walk a little bit on campus and plug in some music. And today I was listening to some AJR and just getting my head right for the mood and the conversation and the energy. Let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah, it's good. It's a great day. Another Friday. I think recording on Friday is fantastic.
It is another Friday. Looking forward to the weekend already. I also want to say for our non-visual audience that's not watching on YouTube or any other format, you've got a nice sweatshirt here on with a dog on it.
Yes. We were talking about dogs the other day on our phone. We both have dogs. I've had a dog or at least one dog in my house since 1998. You've got a dog, Scout. I've got a picture of one of my old dogs here, Johnny, who passed away right before I moved to Illinois State. And dogs are amazing. I mean, I'm not really a dog person. My wife is a dog person, so I've had dogs in the house all the time. But, man, they love you so much. How can you not like them?
I know. Our dog is great. We have a golden doodle Scout, and he's just tremendous. And a lot of times when you and I are talking on the phone, I'm on my way to pick him up from doggy daycare, and I feel like that just blows your mind.
It blows my mind. You have a dog that goes to doggy daycare. You really love that dog.
He goes at least once or twice a week.
And they take pictures of him and show you updates and tell you when he gets excited about things. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm literally looking at a picture, where my dog is giving me the side eye because you can have him sign up for various picture days at the daycare for the dog. And this one, he is in a Barbie outfit because it was when the Barbie movie came out. I don't know. Yep. For our visual audience. Yeah. And it is full side eye. But, you know, like, they have a pool in the back, and it's not like this Walmart pool. Like, it's a built pool for dogs, but he loves it so much.
They call and say, Dr. Thomas, Scout's not feeling very good today. You're going to have to pick him up. He ate his food too fast and threw it up. Is that how it works?
No, I don't know that we've ever gotten a call other than like if it's like an accident, like another dog nipped his leg. And so, you know, that type of thing. But really, it's just, he goes and has a great time. I call it Dog Disney World because he just loves it so much in the morning. He runs out and he has a great time. And then at the end of the day, he comes home and he crashes and he's not up in my lap the entire day saying, pet me, pet me, pet me.
Yeah, I think we always had multiple dogs in the house because they needed playmates, right? Like Kat spent a lot of time at home when the girls were in school. And it just worked out. They've been great companions. I mean, it's brutal. I've had to put a couple of dogs down too. You know, Johnny here, he passed away just at the house. And I think anybody who's loved pets knows that the hardest part about owning a pet is having to put a pet down when that time comes. And man, I don't like that at all. It's the worst part, but because they love you so much, I can't quit them. That's the thing. I'm sure there'll be another dog in my house before my end. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I think it's we talk about Friday good energy. There's nothing quite like going home. And no matter what kind of day you've had, your dog, and I say cat, I'm not a cat person. I'm allergic. They literally would make my neck swell up. But like for me as a dog person coming home, the dog is there and happy no matter what.
Yeah. Johnny was a great dude, kind of ugly, but people loved him. He kind of was this Basset Beagle that had like a brindle coat. And whenever we took him out, I'm like, this dog is ugly. But he loved people. He was a great walker, great outside dog. None of my dogs get along with other dogs very well, which sometimes causes problems. But
it's kind of like the owner. Oh, yeah, no, I'm sorry.
No, it's true. I mean, I'm liking people less and less, except for you, Kevin, right?
Yeah, that's right. Hey, we're right around the corner here to the NACADA conference, and you're an award winner. Like, what happened here? You've won the Bobby Flaherty Service to NACADA Award. How does that feel?
Oh, it feels weird, right? Like I don't know. I think there are a lot more worthy people than myself. I am pretty humbled. I mean, I have to thank you, right? You put together and organized the nomination. And, I just think I got into NACADA in 1999. Maybe this is just a longevity award. I've outlasted everybody.
Anytime you start with, I got into NACADA in 1999, my first thought is, how old was I?
How old were you, Kevin?
I was 19.
Oh, my God. You were still in college.
I had just started college, yes.
Yeah. So my first annual conference was in Denver in 1999. No, Kevin, it really is an honor. It was an honor to be nominated, and I'm going to thank all my people at NACADA. I mean, there were so many folks that contributed. I do want to say thank you to all of them now, but I think individually I'll call them out if I get a chance to speak at the award ceremony. But
well, hold on. At the award ceremony, they've told you have how long to speak?
5 minutes.
And what are the chances that 5 minutes occurs?
I think the over-under is definitely more than 5 minutes.
I think so too. There's zero way. I'm going to time it because I'll be there, but there's zero way that's happening.
I'm supposed to send them a script, and they don't understand. That's not how I've ever worked, right? Like ever. I've never scripted anything in my life.
They're trying to put you in a box.
Right. I mean, there's one speech I can remember writing things down, and it was for my dad's eulogy, right? And even then I went off script tons of times. I don't know that I'm going to be able to put together a very good script for this, but Kevin, when I really seriously reflect, service is about people, right? And the first thing that I would say is getting involved in NACADA was really just about making sure that I could be good at my job, like just learning from other folks, presenting. And then I just got addicted to the association and helping others and interacting with others and building great professional relationships and networks. And sure, there's a lot of work that comes with that, but I've loved every minute of it. And so I am really humbled and honored to receive the award, and just so grateful that folks like you who put the nomination together and folks that wrote the letters of support took the time to kind of, say really nice things about me. I'm not sure I deserve it, but it's great.
And for folks that don't know that are listening, the Bobby Flaherty Service to NACADA Award recognizes a member, in this case, Brody, for outstanding service to the organization. And she was NACADA's executive director for a couple decades, and really just influential for leadership, stability, and fostering the growth of an organization when it was just beginning, and really seeing it to where it is today, which is, I don't know that exact number, but 13,000 members, large throughout the globe, which is just fantastic. So congrats to you, my friend.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
So I think we're ready to move to our guest. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it. This is exciting.
I am excited. Today, I think can both say this. We're honored to be joined by Marsha Miller, Emeritus Assistant Director of Resources at NACADA. Over decades of service, Marsha has guided the development of advising literature, co-edited foundational texts, served as managing editor of the NACADA Journal and NACADA Review, helped shape national standards through the Council of Advancement for the Advancement of Standards in Higher Education. And more than that, she's just a great colleague and friend that Brody and I have gotten to know over our time frame within the organization. And so we're super pumped to have Marsha Miller here with us today. Welcome, Marsha.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And congratulations, Brody. Well deserved.
Thank you, Marsha. I appreciate that so much. Absolutely.
Well, let's not delay the fact that this is now there are more award winners on this call than there are not.
One of these things is not like the other, Kevin.
Yeah, and it's me. I'm the non-winner in this group. But Marsha, you are also in Las Vegas this October. You are going to be receiving the Virginia N. Gordon Award for Excellence in the Field of Advising. And that's also one of the big 5 awards that's going to happen. Can you talk a little bit about how it feels to be an award winner? That's just tremendous.
Gobsmacked. That's what it. Like Brody, I am humbled. I never thought this is possible because most of my time has been behind the scenes. I've never been the face out there. I mean, Charlie was always the one on the stage, and he is an award winner too, previous Gordon Award winner. So I'm just really honored to be in that company.
When you think about this, you talk about being behind the scenes, and we read a little bit of your bio there, but even in advance of this conversation today, I was telling people who was going to be on the show, and they said, "Oh, Marsha Miller's on the show." There's this awe that comes with the things that you've done over that period of time that I think you probably just say, I just did it. It was my job. It was the role. It was what I was doing. But foundationally, what you've provided NACADA in the advising profession for many, many years is just so powerful. And I don't know that that's always something you can wrap your head around. But as you think back on this journey, did you think you'd be here today?
No, I didn't even think I'd be in advising. That was not like so many of my generation. I didn't start out to be an advisor. I just kind of backed into it. And all the way through every job I've ever had, I've created. Somebody had a vision and said, we really don't know what this is going to be, and we don't have a lot of details, but here, run with it. And Bobby and company gave me that freedom to run with it. And a lot of challenges along the way. A lot of them met, some of them not met. It's just the way things go. So yeah, I'm pleased to say the least.
So 18-year-old Marsha would not have said, I'm going to end up working for NACADA and work in advising and go down this path.
So I started out teaching 8th grade social studies of all things.
Oh my.
And yeah, 8th grade social studies. And back in the day when they were just starting to do testing for special ed, and they had tested a few students. And so the principal gave me a section of the class that he called the jelly jar students. There were any students who had a label.
Oh.
So, which by the way is illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I went back home, and Richard and I were renting an apartment from a lady who was the only special ed teacher in the district. And she said, they can't do this, number one. And number two, you don't have any background, but let's do this. So I wound up in the end getting a master's degree in learning disabilities.
Wow.
And working in schools and realizing that it's not about the label, because that's a deficit way of looking at kids. It's about helping them find their strengths and believing in themselves, and working with the faculty in the regular classrooms so that they can capitalize on those strengths. So I spent a lot of years doing that. And then we moved to Kansas, and there was a community college here that got a grant for curriculum development. And so I hired on because I thought it would be really interesting. And I taught a couple of classes, and they said, could you advise? I said, sure, why not? Yeah, let's do it. So at the end of the first semester, the president calls me into the office, and he hands me a registration form, and he says, our advising system is broken. I'm like, I didn't even know there was a system, but whatever. So he says, I'm sending you to this conference. And by the way, I'm appointing you as chair of this committee that's going to give us recommendations on how to restructure. But at this conference, you're going to learn how to fix advising. And the name on the check was NACADA. And that's how I backed into all of it, and started then with CAN, which is the Kansas Academic Advising Network, and working with them. And then when we restructured, they did an advising center. And one of the parameters was it had to be faculty advisors because it was in their contract, but it was all manned by faculty advisors. And then down the road a few years, we won a program award. And then one of my mentors at Emporia State University, Faye Val, said they're coming up with a job at NACADA. They're calling it research coordinator. They don't know what they want, but what they want you, apply. And I did. And so the rest is kind of history, to say the least. But they didn't know. I mean, when I walked in, there were boxes from the Clearinghouse of Academic Advising Resources that had been in Ohio State. And Virginia Gordon had retired, and Ohio State had boxed everything up and sent them to NACADA. And they wanted me to catalog them and archive them. And I'm like, that's it? That's all you want? They said, well, you have to start the research committee again. The research committee hasn't been doing much. They said, we really don't know who can do it. And so they explained the job. And I said, well, I know who can do it. And so I shot him a name, and they said, well, we don't know that name. I said, let me call him. It was Rich Robbins.
Oh,
So
wow.
How about
I had worked with Rich when he was at Washburn. We'd been on a program committee together. And then he brought Lee Schaefer in, and it just steamrolled from there. And I got to work with Virginia, which is another story I'll tell in my 5 minutes that also is going to go over about how I worked with Virginia.
Way to go, Marsha.
But with professionalization of advising, there was a task force, and that task force changed everything. And then they realized if they were going to have a graduate certificate in academic advising and a grad degree, and then eventually a PhD, they were going to have a curriculum which meant writing. And so my job was recruiting authors and bringing those authors to the forefront so we could have something that could be studied.
That's amazing, Marsha. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. That is really awesome. And you managed NACADA's pubs for 15 years, right?
Yes, I did. So, and that must. I've not seen the nomination, by the way. I know Drew Paraway wrote my nomination, and thank you, Drew. But I don't know who else did reference letters. I've not seen any of the materials. So thanks for this opportunity, because now I can pull some of what was going to be in my speech out and say, you need to watch this video for the rest of the speech.
Yeah. So Marsha, what was the most challenging and rewarding part of shaping kind of the NACADA advising library?
Working with the people, and a lot like the students that I worked with back when I was teaching the Jelly Jar students, which is a horrible name. A lot of advisors don't think they can write. They don't think they have anything to contribute. And seeing what was in them, Pat Cape is an example. Pat's, when I heard him do his history and theory of advising pre-con, I was at a Region 1 conference doing writing for NACADA, and he's on the other side of the wall. They're all laughing and having a grand time. 3 hours of history and theory of advising. I'm like, how? So when my session was over, I stood in the back of the room and watched and went, holy moly, this guy's wonderful. And so I started talking to him, and he says, I can't write. And I said, let's just present together. And so I talked to Rhonda Baker, who was the chair, who was the conference person for the annual conference. And I said, just give us an hour of pre-con, make it free. And so I told him, I said, I'm going to sit there and I'm typing everything that you say, and you run it for an hour. And that became the first draft of the chapter that we did together in the New Advisor Guidebook. I mean, and he's like, I didn't know I had it in me. I said, yeah, you do. He's marvelous. I mean, yeah. Shout out to Pat too.
I think that what you talk about, though, in that intimidation is such a real thing. And I reflect back on knowing I needed to write more, and I still do. That's not anything that I've gotten better at. But I had these conversations with our good colleague and friend, Ashley Thomas, and then Rebecca Hapes and Karen Archambault. We're just name dropping like crazy on this episode. But these are all good people who have been influential and instrumental in the scholarship that's going on at this moment and the writings that are occurring. And they are just such good ambassadors of how to do this, and that it is possible and shouldn't be intimidating. But I think a lot of people sit in a similar seat that I sit in, Brody, and you don't write a ton, because I think there's an intimidation to it.
Yes, there is an intimidation. And by the way, Ashley is filling my old shoes, and very, very well. And I think her hand is behind Drew writing, would be my guess. But she's marvelous. She does a fantastic job. But people, one of the things I'll tell people is collaborate. Find someone who does write and sit down and collaborate. I prefer writing with someone else. I don't prefer trying to write by myself because I can't critique myself. And I need to find someone who will critique me. The last thing the thing I wrote during COVID, Peter Hagen and Julie Gibbons-Voller asked me to write about the history of publications for the review. And I started, and I thought it was going to be really easy, and it turned out not to be easy at all. And I finally hammered out something, and I interviewed old journal editors, and I sent it off to several folks who I trust, and they said, "Oh, it's wonderful, send it in." And I'm like, I don't think so. So I finally sent it to my son, who's a speech and debate coach, and who's going to be in Vegas, by the way. And he calls me and he said, "Mom, I thought you could write."
Oh,
And I said, "Thank you." I said, "Thank you. That's exactly what I need to hear." He provided so much, and we went through and pulled everything out. He said, "There's got to be, there was one sentence here, and there's got to be at least a 20-minute story." And so I tell him the story, and then he'd summarize it in one sentence. That in the end, he earned co-authorship with it, and he actually advises now, but in a high school situation. I don't think NACADA realizes there's a lot of private high schools around the country that has advisory. He's a faculty advisor at his school and has a load. So yeah, you need to find someone who can really be honest with you and caring. And he didn't do that in a malicious way, but he was absolutely correct. It was garbage.
That's tough love.
There. It is.
Yeah, Marsha, you mentioned this encouragement, and Kevin kind of just echoed this. I think, we start to think about, like, I'm not a writer per se, right? I've always viewed myself as a practitioner. I'm much more comfortable in front of folks. And so I'm an aggregator of stuff. And when I present, like, I'm using a lot of research in a lot of the things that I do. But one of the things that you said, like collaborate, is really important to me. And I think the second thing in some of my happiness research is just start doing it, like just write. And then the writing creates the motivation for more writing, right? That you can't want to be a writer. You actually have to write. And I have found that to be really interesting. And it sounds like that's kind of the approach that you've taken as you've worked with other folks. Yes,
exactly. Yeah. Find somebody, collaborate. One of the things I found, one of the people who got me started is Bonnie Alberts, who's retired from, it's in South Dakota. She's going to kill me because I can't remember the name of it at the moment. But anyway, she basically brought snacks, and we spent weekends sitting in my office floor and just writing and having a grand time. And that's how I got started. And it works.
That's amazing.
And I think the earlier you can do it and just break down those barriers. I think about this with my son. He's 16 years old, and he just finished a book. He wrote a book. And so people are editing it and going through and putting it together so that it can be a publication at some point. And it's,
how did I not know this, Kevin?
I know, right? I
that is
talk
cool.
about these things more. But he's doing it at 16. So what's he going to do at 18 and 20 and 30? It's amazing.
The sky's the limit. And don't be afraid of editing. Editing is your friend. Editing, things that are clear in your head, kind of like Doug did with me. Things were clear in my head, but it certainly wasn't clear on the page. And the editing that he provided and the additional input he provided made the whole thing much better than what it ever would have been had it just been me.
When you look at where we're at right now, what excites you about the next wave of advising scholarship?
Believe it or not, AI.
Yeah, Brody's there with you.
I love it.
I think
that's fantastic.
It's going to change things. I mean, if we use it correctly, because AI is going to give you a direction that maybe you didn't see before, but you better be looking at it because what it tells you isn't always accurate. So you need to go back and do the research and make sure that you're okay. But I use AI a lot. I do a lot of genealogy, and I use AI a lot with genealogy, especially translating like German and French. And because unlike a previous guest yours who's fluent in several languages, I'm hardly fluent in English. So, really. But AI, I think, is going to make a huge difference. And even down to, I said this in one of the committees, I still hop on to a few committees every once in a while just to shake things up. But I just really think that AI is going to be able to translate. People are going to be able, we're an international organization. You're going to be able to write in your home language. You're not going to have to write in English. You can write in your home language and then translate it, and then sit down with someone in English to make sure that the words the AI translates really is what it is.
Yeah,
I think it's going to bring in a lot of new authors too.
To me too, the other piece of this is it allows you to just be more efficient as well, right? That's what I've found in many ways, right? It doesn't automatically do the work for me, but it does take care of the things that maybe take a lot of time that aren't necessary for me to really focus in on and be able to focus in on the more important things.
You do have to say, however, what tool you used. I think, number one, it is a tool. And I think it helps others to realize those tools are out there. But you can't say, I just came up with all this on my own, because you did have some help. You need to give some credit, which is different than what people use it.
No, that is true. There's no question about that. So, Marsha, I know you've represented NACADA, say, for example, on the CAS board, right?
Yes.
And the CAS standards, right? Which part of that work felt most impactful to the academic advising field?
Actually, the last thing I did for CAS was I chaired the general standards, and their general standards were higgly-piggly all over everywhere, and like pages and pages and pages, and they weren't organized. And so pulled together a group of people, and we just sat down and said, everything's off the table. Let's organize this. And in doing that, CAS is very student affairs oriented, and they didn't understand that academic advising, there's 1 foot in student affairs and 1 foot in academic affairs. And we really are the integration between those two areas. And I think doing that, number one, it helped them organize and help people who utilize the CAS standards realize that they are a viable tool, but also help the whole organization understand that academic advising is a little bit different animal, and it really can be a field unto itself. And that's something, this award, the Virginia Gordon Award, says in the field of academic advising, which thrills me to pieces, because most people would not think of academic advising as a field, and I'm not sure we're quite there yet, but it's aspirational. And so when Tom Greitz and Julie Gibbons-Voller and I sit down in 14 to talk about the Beyond Foundations book, we talk about, are we talking about advising as a profession? Are we just talking about it as a practice? And we decided all through the book we were going to say field, because we really think we are a field, and we're getting there so that everyone else in higher ed can understand that and embrace it.
Yeah, and I think it's really powerful that what you're talking about from a wordsmith standpoint. What is it as a profession? Is it a field? And being purposeful in that. I think, again, when we talk about how words matter, we're setting a standard for where we're going as a field. And I think that's really influential. I appreciate you sharing that. So listen, this is going to be maybe more for the audience than anybody else, and I have not been, but what's it like to work in the executive office? And like, what's one thing we need to know about working for what Brody and I have affectionately termed the mothership? And that you're there and you're in that, because I think people view it as this mecca of advising in existence, and people just don't know.
So I showed up the first day in a suit because I thought, okay, yeah, same thing you thought. The executive office is down and dirty. You better have running shoes and jeans or sweats on. Let me tell you.
Let's go.
It is. Let's go. And you need to be able to juggle many things at the same time. And it is not what I thought it was by any stretch of the imagination. And it comes at you fast, and it comes at you hard. And when you have 12, 13, 14,000 members, however many members there are in NACADA, everyone has a different opinion, a different perspective, and a different voice. And you better listen to all of them. So there's a lot going on.
You know, Kevin, you said you've never been to Kansas State.
I've never been.
So
I was on the board, but it was during COVID, and so we did virtual.
Yeah, I was a part of that group, Marsha, right at the middle of 2010s, where they brought the council and the board every year for the spring meeting to Manhattan, Kansas. And those 4 or 5 years I got to go. I hopped on the council the first year they did it, and they decided they were going to ask the council and the board to go. And I freaking loved Manhattan. And then, you know, the new office was built, and we got a chance to tour that. But my really important question is, like, Varsity Donuts, do you have a Larry? Is Larry your favorite? I mean, the Larry is a fantastic donut, right, Marsha? I mean, you cannot go wrong. Like, I look forward to that visit every year not because I got to see my colleagues or do the good work of academic advising for NACADA, but because I got to go every morning to Varsity Donuts and have a Larry. And Larry was like this peanut butter and jelly knotted donut with peanut butter on top, jelly in the middle, nuts. It was fantastic. Do you have a favorite donut there?
I allow myself Varsity Donuts once a year because if I went every morning, I would have to be in the pool every single day. Because let me tell you, those things are extremely fattening. There's a maple bacon one, which I don't know the name of, that is just wonderful. And yeah, but no. Varsity Donuts is a treat that just every once in a while.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. If you were here every day, you would be, 400 pounds.
Yeah. I got lost in the Varsity Donuts there. Thanks, Kevin, for letting me rant there for a second.
I really think that we've moved from this podcast being about higher education, and this has become a trend where we just talk about donuts.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's several episodes running now, but we've figured out a way to bring donuts in again.
Sorry. So Marsha, I can bring us back maybe.
Okay.
This is a big, broad question, but I do think it's important, right? And that is, where do you see advising as a profession headed in the next decade?
I don't know that you can predict it.
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't know you can predict it. There's so many influences going on. Every once in a while, somebody else will sound the death knell for advising. I think the Gates Foundation did that back in 2013. They thought that advising was going to be replaced by computers, and then they realized I actually got to go. They sent me a ticket in the mail. I get an airline ticket from the Gates Foundation. I'm like, is this a joke? To just wander through their convening, and then they sit down and debrief with me, and I'm like, you're crazy. The tool that they were working on, and that's what all it was, is a tool. It's the people that make the difference. The people see what can happen with the students and what each student brings to the table, and they see what they're capable of doing. It's not going to be a tool. And so as long as we still focus on the people doing it, and this is a tool, and AI is a tool. If we still focus on the people, advising is going to be stronger than ever, because that's what we need, is the human touch.
Yeah, students want human compassion. Absolutely,
yes.
Marsha. There's no question about that.
Yes, and I hope that the higher ed administrators out there realize that.
I look back at the journey that we've been on, or even that I've been on, and when I was at Western Kentucky University, and we were getting a degree audit tool, the panic from advisors that this is going to take my job. Right. And, flash forward a few years later, and a good friend and colleague of mine, Tyler Phelps, was doing his dissertation and was essentially doing it on asynchronous advising that he termed cloud advising. But we talked about a lot about what's the relationship still mean in that. But even then, that was kind of transformational, that you would be advising on the cloud. And then COVID hit and changed everything as well. But I think the common theme there is that technology and all of the things that are surrounding it are really great. AI is going to be helpful in a lot of ways. The relationship is going to be the key in advising. And if you're not doing that, you're not communicating, you're not having that, it's really going to be a detriment to the field.
Yes.
Yeah, I know, Kevin, I was on a panel yesterday, and one of the things that we talked about is how the tools have changed, right? That technology has changed the work of advising. And I think as long as we're comfortable with the idea that tech complements our work rather than replaces our work, we're going to be okay, right? I do really believe that. And the challenge I run into is when we talk to other advisors, or when I hear folks talk about training and development, we talked to Dana about this a little bit. We sometimes think the information is the most important part, and that's where the tools are going to be really helpful to us, and students are going to get more comfortable. But what they want is guidance. What they want is to know that somebody cares about them. What they want is someone who helps them feel like they belong in this space at their institutions. And I think that's the real power of the work that we're doing in academic advising.
Yes, and that will continue to be the power, which is why I think advising has a rich future ahead of it, because you're not going to replace that with AI.
Marsha, you talk about the role that administrators have in this. And so Brody talks a little bit about how advisors often will focus, and I think administrators that are powerful in their approach also have this, on being student-centered. But do you have some guidance or thoughts on how advisors balance being student-centered with the increasing institutional pressure and demand for all other things, whether that's enrollment and support and counseling? And I think there's bits of advising in all of that, but just how do they stay student-centered in what they need to do?
That is hard, and that was difficult for me personally back when I was the director of academic advising. It was 65 70-hour weeks, and I didn't understand the balance. And I think it's really important for all advisors to understand the balance and take time for themselves, for their health, for their exercise, and always talk in terms of what's best for the student. In talking with administrators, it's easy to get into budget issues and technology issues and all the things that really don't matter to students. So if you go into any meeting with student being the focus, I think it's going to come out better.
Yeah. And when we talk about the happiness and meaning making for both advisors and administrators, I think serving others is generally a happiness drug, right? And so, I think that if we can help advisors, sure, there are lots of pressures. I know that I have to focus, and Kevin, I know in your role, you're focusing on retention and enrollment numbers, graduation rates. Those are things that I can worry about. But at the end of the day, if I'm in the front line doing the work as an academic advisor, as long as I put the student that's in front of me first and foremost, I think generally I'm going to be happier in my role too, right? And more productive.
I think so too. The other thing with the student is we do focus so much on, what do you need to do to graduate, and what, the deficits that you have. It's what are your strengths? And that's long before there was strength-based advising. But especially when I was dealing with students who had a label and all they saw themselves as a label. If you start thinking about, what is it? Where do you see yourself 5 years down the road? What is it you want to do? Where do you want to be? What do you bring to the table? It's a totally different focus for them. It's a perspective that they're not getting anywhere else, and they need to get it from their advisor.
All right, so we're going to move to a little bit more of some fun questions. We'll see where we go here, but
Kevin, I was already having fun.
Yes, we were all having fun. That's a good point. Just making the questions a little more.
This is the part that I've been a little bit worried about after watching your previous episode.
I think you've been with us now long enough to know that none of this is tricky. We're just having some fun.
All right. So we know that you have a great affinity for the camping life.
Yes.
What's been your most moment while camping?
I was most moment while camping was after the 2002 conference in Salt Lake City. We had always tent camped because that was what my husband enjoyed because, he's an outdoor guy. And so he came out and he brought the tent, and we're talking October in the mountains in Utah, and it snowed. And I had to get up and run to the bathroom half a mile away in the snow. And I said, that is it. That is the last time I'm sleeping on the ground. If you're going to camp, you're going to get a camper. I'm going to have a bathroom right here, and I'm going to have a warm bed. That's it. That was my aha moment. And we do have a camper, and yes, it is nice.
Very good.
That's a great story. Way to leverage snow into a camper, Marsha.
Yeah.
The last time I slept in a tent was 2006, and essentially it rained for, 4 or 5 inches the night that I was there, and there was a literal lake of water rolling underneath the tent, and I'm like, I'm never doing this again. That's me, Kevin. My camping, I love the outdoors. I love to hike. I end at a hotel with Wi-Fi and breakfast and a TV. That's the way it works for me. That's camping in a nutshell. I'm happy to visit a campsite, right? Like Marsha, I would come to your campsite and happily eat the food and do all the songs, whatever that is. But then I'm going back to a hotel.
Well, we usually camp several times during the summer, and this year's been crazy. We just finally got out last week, and we booked 3 nights. And then they were predicting 3.5 inches. And like you, I have taken down tents and the camper and deluge. And I said, we're not doing it. After 2 nights, we've had 2 beautiful sunsets. We've had campfires. We've done the marshmallows. We're going home because I'm not doing this in 3.5 inches, right? So we went home.
Brody, she said a lot of things, but she didn't say the song. So now I'm really curious, like, what songs are you singing while you camp, my man?
We don't sing that much because my husband is a singer. He was singing in college choruses. I am not a singer. If he wants to sing to me, that's great, but he doesn't want me to sing to him.
Brody, do you want to sing for us? It's a whole new show. We could just do that too.
No, but I do. My mom sang in this church group, right? And my mom still sings at church. She sings at the Catholic church that I grew up in, and she's maybe the most Catholic person I've ever met. But this Catholic music group would get together in the summers, and I remember having a fire in the backyard. I was a teenager, and I sang all those 80s songs. My voice was a lot higher, but like I remember one of my mom's friends' sons played the guitar, and we sang like Don Henley's The Summer songs, Bryan Adams' Summer of '69, like a Chicago, maybe You're the Inspiration or Hard Habit to Break. I think I sang that at a talent show too. Oh God.
Man, your voice was higher.
It was higher.
Marsha, you also have some genealogy adventures. And
yes.
So we're curious, what's the most surprising or funny thing you've uncovered while tracing your family tree?
That's a tough one. There's a lot of we didn't know a lot about my family, especially my dad. My dad was the youngest. His dad was the youngest of 18.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And on his own from the time he was 12 because they were gone by then. And so my dad wanted to know, where he came from. And that was interesting. My dad's name, my maiden name is Hazlett, Hayslet. You always have to spell it. And so Dad was LB Hazlett. He would always look in the phone book anywhere we went for LB Hazlett. And he found an LB Hazlett in Virginia in Newport News. And he called him. And the guy said, yeah, I'm sure we're related. Yeah, has to be. And his dad was there, and his dad's name was Ben, and my granddad's name was Ben. They came and brought lawn chairs to the motel that was on the beach and talked until sun rose.
Wow.
And Dad found out, yes, he did belong to that family. And
that's incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible. And I wished I was like 14 at the time. And I stayed up until 2, and then I couldn't stay up any longer. And I wish there had been a way to tape it, video it back then, because I would love to go back and revisit that conversation. It made a huge difference, and it opened up. And now I realize I'm related to almost everybody in one county in Virginia. Had no idea then.
Yeah, I've done some brief genealogy work, and it's like a drug. Like you get addicted. Yeah. Once you get into that hole, man, you're never stopping. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I don't call myself a genealogist because most of them are certified, and I don't want to go that route. The British call it genealogue, and I do that for cousins, and I help them out as they have questions. And DNA has made a huge difference, being able to compare how much DNA people share. And so, yeah, it is addictive, and every once in a while I have to take a break and just shut it off for a while and then come back to it.
Kevin, do you have anything? Have you done any genealogy stuff with your family or anything like that?
My father does a lot, and he's gone down that path a lot on both sides and just checking out things. And so he'll share those stories, but I don't know that I would say any I feel like are a surprise. But he spends more time with it. And when we were in Salt Lake a couple of times for some conferences, to be able to go use the services they have there to do some of that was really it's surprising. Just and just what you can see and what's out there.
I think the one thing that really surprised me on my mom's side, I've got a kind of this distant uncle, I guess, and he's been able to get my mom's side back to like the 1490s. And I'm like, how is that possible? How's that possible? But yeah, it's
Not
pretty
really, not really DNA unless you use Y-DNA, and that will go back, son to father to grandfather, but the other autosomal will not.
So Marsha, we always talk about like movement and the way folks stay active. Both Kevin and I really love exercise, or at least our steps. We're addicted to our steps. So what's your activity of choice, Marsha?
So as you can imagine, working at the executive office as many hours as they put in, my body pretty much fell apart by the time I was retired in 2019. And I had foot surgery, and at Arrowhead Stadium of all places, because they have the equipment. At University of Kansas Medical Center does the sports medicine for Arrowhead. And the doctor, who was a long punter for the Chiefs at one time, said the best thing to do is deep water aerobics, a belt, and get started, and don't put any weight on it. And I've been doing it since. I do it 2 to 3 times a week, and it's wonderful. Totally changed my outlook, totally changed my body. Things don't hurt the way they used to. It's good.
That's great. Yeah. Let's move to the lightning round. I think that's great.
Okay. I thought this was it. Okay.
You've done fantastic. Now we're really into it.
All right.
Kevin, you want to get the first one? Let's do it.
What's your favorite podcast or audio book right now?
I have hearing aids, which is why we're and because I actually can hear, and I don't listen to things that much. And my family yesterday, every one of them, both my kids called me, and my husband said, "You need to start with that, as you don't hear." But with this, I hear, and maybe I should listen more and slap these on. But it's hard to walk around and in public with these on. It's my Princess Leia look.
It's a great Princess Leia look.
Coffee, tea, or soda for your daily fuel, Marsha?
Coffee in the morning, tea in the afternoon, never soda.
Okay.
Decaf tea.
You do a lot of road tripping and travel. What's your go-to snack?
Oh, and I shouldn't. There's these Nature Valley peanut butter granola things that are granola bar with peanut butter in it. They're on Amazon. I just get it every month. That comes in a box.
You notice how she didn't say donuts, Brody?
No.
I know it.
I tell myself it's better than a donut because there's, oats in there and peanut butter, which is protein, but it's still a lot of sugar.
Do you have a favorite board game or card game, Marsha?
Clue used to be, I beat anybody in Clue. I had an aunt one time that swore up and down I cheated and threw the board at me.
It's good to get so good. It's good to get so good at a game that people throw stuff at you. I love that.
The problem is now we play it at Christmas when everybody's here, and my kids just wipe me off the board. I beat them last year. We went to New Orleans for Thanksgiving and did an Airbnb there, and I beat them a game, and it was like, yes, we're stopping right here.
What's a song that always puts you in a good mood?
Born to be Wild.
Love it.
Yeah, that is great.
Which is not me in any way, shape, or form, but yeah, if I want to get psyched for something, that's my song.
Do you have an all-time favorite TV show or movie?
I don't know.
That's a tough one.
I know. I like Finding Your Roots because, the genealogy piece. But as far as a show, I love Quiet Man.
Okay.
With the Irish, because there's some Irish roots on my side.
Oh yeah.
Too, and then the Americanized version of it with the same actors with John Wayne and Marino's O'Hare was McClintock, which I think is funnier than heck.
Yeah.
And totally inappropriate, but I laugh all the way through it.
All right, I think this is our last one. We're running a little short on time, but if advising had a mascot, what should it be?
The Energizer Bunny.
That's great.
And advisors that are listening throughout are cheering for that one because I think they have to have those batteries to keep going.
Yeah.
Well, Marsha, we had so much fun.
This has been great.
So I've been worried about this and what you're going to throw at me, but it's gone really well. So anybody who wants to do this, yes, do it.
That's right. A pickup meeting, you never know what's coming. So
That's true.
We got to make sure that we keep you on your toes. Thank you
Well,
again.
I appreciate the opportunity. And again, congratulations, Brody.
Yeah,
Well
congratulations to you,
Congratulations to
Marsha.
you as
What an
well.
honor.
We'll see you in Vegas.
See you in Vegas.
All right. Bye-bye.
How fantastic was Marsha Miller?
I had so much fun. She was great, Kevin. Just great. What insight.
Yeah, and it's really one of the things she said very early on, and I think in our current environment right now, politically, and what we're balancing on our campuses, of it's not about the label. She talked about it was about what you were providing. It's about the relationship. It's about the works, and that really stuck with me today. That regardless of what words we should or shouldn't be using, that if you focus on the purpose, which is supporting students, helping students, guide students, then we're doing our jobs.
Yeah, I feel like I've been guilted into being a writer again, right? And writing more. That was my takeaway. Just write, correct? Like you got to get at it, collaborate. Maybe you and I should be writing. That's the way I was thinking about it. But doggone it. Yeah, I mean, she's a superstar, right?
Yeah. There are very few advising texts, student success texts that you can pick up that aren't going to have something that she's mentioned in.
Yeah, her hands and her words are everywhere. It really is an honor to get a chance to speak with her and talk to her about all that she's done for the association.
And I'm excited for both of you being award winners and connecting with you here in a couple of weeks in Vegas. And really, we've transitioned to full fall here. So I'm curious, as we wrap things up, do you have fall rituals that are yours? Like, do you do this thing every fall?
I don't know if I mean, I do really enjoy football a lot. But I'm more of an NFL guy than college guy. Like, one of my favorite things in the fall, I'm a huge English Premier League fan, and the favorite part of my Saturday is waking up about 6:15, 6:20, getting my coffee, and turning that first English Premier League game on that starts at 6:30, and just spending the first half kind of enjoying the morning. Usually my cats and dogs have been fed. It's a great ritual for the fall, right? Get the start of that soccer season is really fun. How about you, man?
I'm not a coffee person. Again, never had it. But so the pumpkin spice doesn't do much for me. It's not one of those things. It's more in my wife's world, where I'm going to pick up her pumpkin spice drinks and know that she's going to have a lot of those things around the house. But I think for me, it's the weather changing and the decorations around town and different things. It's kind of nice to get into that fall, cooler weather, different look, not sweltering hot everywhere you go. In Arkansas, it stays pretty hot anyway. But I think, I don't know that's a trend, but when the drinks switch and you can start to tell the colors are changing. We're walking on campus here recently, and we're surprised at how early the trees were turning this year. And it's just it's kind of a beautiful thing, and it reminds you of that fall feeling that you've had all through life.
Kevin, I know you and I were chatting the other day on the phone, and one of the things that we were talking about, and Marsha used the word collaboration, and I think this is really something I wanted to kind of end on today, was just thinking about the people that you reach out to and connect with, right, throughout the time, and how important those networks are. I feel so lucky to kind of be able to chat with you every couple of days or 2 or 3 times a week, and just how important those relationships have been to me. And I think even Marsha using that word collaboration in the writing and in that writing piece kind of just reminded me, and I want to share this with folks, is you gotta talk to the people you care about, right? Reaching out and checking in with folks, your NACADA peeps, your friends, the people that you care about most. And I'm getting a little corny, but being able to make sure, like, folks like Dave Marchesani and Carrie Kincannon and you, Kevin Thomas, people that I reach out to and chat with, I'm just so grateful for those friendships. And I think it's one of the reasons why this podcast exists. But I was thinking about that when she used the word collaboration and working together. But being together with the folks you care about and chatting with them is really important too.
Yeah, and this show's really been wonderful. It's so great to hear, whether that's emails or texts or whatever from folks, and just it's kind of exciting to hear, oh, well, my favorite episode has been this one, or my favorite episode's been that one. And it's just like, you have favorite episodes. And I was talking to Stephanie Kraft Terry last night, and she sent me a picture of our podcast on her screen in her car. And it says, with Brody and Kevin. And then her daughter gets in the car, and I guess I had sent her a text at the same time. And she said, the guy who's on the podcast is sending you text messages? Her mind was blown. And so this has just been such a fun journey of connecting with folks along the way.
Yeah.
Well, you better wrap things up for us today.
Yeah. So, friends, that's it for this edition of the Pickup Meeting. We hope all your regular meetings are as productive, as fun as this pickup meeting. So until next time, do good. Be nice. Thanks, gang, for listening.